Philosophical conversation or trying to understand the nature of the universe can lead to intriguing revelations or paradoxes. At first glance, it might make sense, but in the end, it can contradict itself or imply the impossible, and trying to understand it can really make your head hurt. If you're job searching, you're familiar with the term experience needed. The frustrating nature of trying to get ahead in life, but being denied an opportunity because you haven't yet succeeded, is a paradox many know all too well. A catch-22 is when a person cannot make gains because of a contradictory rule. The phrase was coined in 1961 by author Joseph Heller in his book Catch-22. The protagonist of the novel, John Yossarian, attempts to prove he is incapable of duty by way of insanity. If successful, he can avoid flying in dangerous missions. However, the psychiatrist explains to John the Catch-22. Any pilot trying to escape duty cannot be insane because avoiding combat is smart. Thus, the pilot is sane enough to go on the mission. This prevents any pilots from using insanity as a reason to skip their next mission. Popular culture adopted the phrase to describe a no-win scenario. The novel was also adapted into a 1970 movie starring Alan Arkin as John Yossarian. The film was not particularly successful, but showcases the frustration that John and his fellow pilots endured during wartime. In the 21st century, we place heavy value in the material. Cell phones, televisions, video games, and fancy cars, mostly expensive items. Whereas the things we cannot live without, food, water, and oxygen, are for the most part very cheap. The paradox of value states that while a commodity like water is essential to our survival, diamonds are more expensive. Scottish economist Adam Smith has tried to explain this contradiction in his book Wealth of Nations. He says there are two meanings to the word value: value of use and value in exchange. Items that have the highest value in use, like water, have very little value in exchange. On the other hand, items that have high value in exchange are low in value of use, like diamonds. Smith also believes that the trouble it takes to acquire something is directly related to its value. Then there's the explanation of diminishing marginal utility. Imagine a farmer who has 5 bags of grain. The first bag is used to make bread to eat so he can survive. The second bag makes more bread so he can maintain his health. The third bag is used to feed the animals on the farm, the fourth is to make whiskey, and the fifth is to feed pigeons. The value of the last bag is lower than that of the first bag, which is worth his survival. The more bags he has, the less value it appears to have. To go back to our original paradox of diamonds and water, the more water we consume, the less we place value in its consumption. But in the case of being stranded in the desert, would you trade a diamond for a glass of water? That answer just may be yes. There have been countless debates for centuries about the existence of gods. Whether you believe in one or many gods, these divine beings usually have the gift of omnipotence, unlimited or very great power. The omnipotence paradox is a challenge to this concept. Putting aside the question of whether gods exist, assume there is one watching overhead. This being possesses unlimited power. Could they create a stone so heavy that even they could not lift it? If yes, their strength is limited. If not, then there is a limit to their power to create. Either answer challenges this being's omnipotence. One of the counter-arguments to this paradox is that an all-powerful being created everything, including laws of logic, so they must follow their own laws that define their existence by not creating the stone at all. We may never have an answer to the omnipotence paradox unless we discover the truth about the existence of a god. But some argue that human logic cannot be applied to a god's logic, and that a god's power is so limitless that he could make a paradox make sense. and that humans trying to decode a god's ability or intelligence is like a fly pondering human thought. It just doesn't seem to go that well for the fly. The concept of time travel makes us ponder the consequences of our actions. Going back in time, the possibilities for change are limitless. So what happens if you eliminate one of your ancestors by mistake? The grandfather paradox poses this question. If, for example, you traveled to the past and eliminated your paternal grandfather, there would be immediate consequences. Your father would never exist and neither would you. But if you did that, then you wouldn't exist to kill your grandfather, so would you still exist after all? California State University professor Bradley Dowden made the argument that generating a contradiction like this means that time travel itself is not possible. World-famous astrophysicist Carl Sagan proposed the idea that nature and time have a consciousness that prevents these kinds of disturbances from happening. But erasing yourself from existence could have even worse consequences. According to the butterfly effect theory, even the smallest actions can have significant effects, and you may unknowingly set the future on a collision course for disaster. There are many visual paradoxes that will leave you questioning reality. Two-dimensional figures that can imitate projections of three-dimensional images. The most well-known of these is the impossible staircase, or the Penrose steps. Created by Lionel and Roger Penrose, the impossible stairs consist of 4 sets of stairs, each of which move upwards and are connected together. If you try to ascend these stairs, you end up back at your starting point. The same goes for descending the steps. This unique design was also featured in a 1960 M.C. Escher lithograph print titled Ascending and Descending, which depicts 2 identical lines of men going up and down the never-ending staircase. Escher's print could be considered a commentary on our everyday lives, as both sets of men continue to perform the same task over and over again to no purpose. The stairs have been featured in popular movies, including the film Inception, where the steps are used in dreams by the architect to keep opposing forces away from the rest of the team. You may someday dream of these steps on your own, but it's probably best to just stay away. The great minds of Greek history influenced mathematics, science, philosophy, and even our tales of morality. One of the most interesting thought experiments, however, is the ship of Theseus. According to the Greek historian Plutarch, Theseus returned from the island of Crete on a wooden ship that was preserved for years as a symbol of the hero's triumph. As time passed, the ship's original wooden planks began to rot, so to preserve the ship, each bad panel was replaced by a new one, until the entire ship was composed of newer panels. But does the refurbished ship still count as the ship of Theseus? Philosopher Thomas Hobbes wondered if the old pieces of the ship were used to recreate the original ship, which vessel would be the real ship of Theseus? At what point does the ship with replaced boards become a replica, if ever? On one hand, a refurbished vessel remains the ship of Theseus, as its original intention, look, and function are still intact. If both ships were still able to make the journey to and from Crete, are they the same ship? Time may also play a role in understanding this paradox, as both ships were not constructed at the same time. Thus, only one of them can be the original ship. Whether you believe both are the same ship or that it doesn't matter, this paradox still gives your mind a bit of a twist. Imagine a scenario where a close loved one is kidnapped. The kidnapper leaves a note saying they will return your loved one only if you correctly guess what the kidnapper will do to them. The kidnapper cannot lie, whether you guess correctly or not. What happens if you guessed that they would not return the loved one? The liar's paradox is an interesting concept. If the liar is actually lying, then they are telling the truth, which means they are also lying. The kidnapper cannot keep his word and return the loved one if the intent all along was not to return the loved one. Also known as the Pinocchio paradox, the simplest solution is to reject the idea that every statement is either true or false. The founder of temporal logic, Arthur Norman Pryor, asserted that the liar's paradox is not paradoxical at all. He believes there is no difference between saying a sentence is true and saying a sentence is both true and false. Whether you agree with the solution or not, the scenario presents a dilemma. What would you do to save your loved one? And in the end, would it actually save them? The Legend of Zelda video game series has remained popular across 4 decades. One of the games, the Ocarina of Time, gives the main protagonist, Link, the ability to travel into the future to save the land of Hyrule. During the game, you are a part of a paradox known as a causal loop, which is when one event is the cause of a second event that in turn causes the first event to take place. In the Ocarina of Time, an organ grinder named Guru Guru plays the same loop of music over and over. Later in the game, when Link travels to the future, the man is furious at the sight of Link's instrument, the ocarina. The man tells Link that in the past, a young boy played a song on his ocarina that caused his windmill to spin out of control and drain the town's well. The man teaches the Song of Storms to Link, who then returns to the past and plays the song for the man again, thus draining the well. So which event came first, and where did the song originate from? This loop has been subject to plenty of fan speculation, and the song's origins aren't revealed until a later sequel, Majora's Mask, after the events in Ocarina of Time have already unfolded. The most ridiculous of circumstances can allow us to challenge what we know about science and push forward to discovery at the cost of others. Schrödinger's cat is one of the most popular paradoxes discussed among scholars. Completed in 1935 by Austrian physicist Erwin Schrödinger, an oversimplification of the thought experiment explains a scenario that involves a cat sealed inside a box with a radioactive source and a vial of poison. If a Geiger counter detects radioactivity, the vial releases its poison and ends the cat's life. According to the Copenhagen interpretation of quantum mechanics, the cat is both dead and alive at the same time. Once the box opens, the observer will see the cat as either alive and confused or dead. The question is, at what point is the cat one or the other? Scientist Hugh Everett hypothesized the many worlds interpretation of quantum mechanics. Once the box is opened by the observer, their state becomes connected to the cat's condition. Even today, the question continues to help scientists understand the nature of observation. One thing is for sure, don't try this at home. The popular TV series The X-Files explored the possibility of alien abductions in our modern world. This brings us to our next paradox. The Fermi paradox is a contradiction that there exists a lack of evidence, but a high probability. According to Italian physicist Enrico Fermi, there are 4 main points to his argument that aliens are already here on Earth. They are fairly straightforward. 1. There are tens of billions of stars in the universe that are the same as the Sun. Plenty are even older than our Sun. 2. It is likely that many of these stars have planets that exist in a habitable zone, like Earth, and they could have formed intelligent life. 3. This intelligent life may be able to produce interstellar travel. 4. Even if interstellar travel is relatively slow to the speed of light, our galaxy is about 100,000 light-years long. Fermi suggests not only that there is extraterrestrial life, but that they have already visited Earth at some point, which begs the question, where is everybody? There are several factors as to why there is no concrete evidence of alien life. It's possible humanity is the most advanced species in the universe, despite other regions of space existing for much longer, or extraterrestrials have already been here but left no traces, or the remnants have yet to be discovered. Advanced life may have existed here before, but destroyed itself through technological warfare. Maybe intelligent life is too far away to travel this distance and survive. After witnessing the terrible crimes against our own kind, aliens may not want to communicate with humans, or they may just be waiting for the right moment to strike. Either way, humanity cannot answer the question of where is everybody yet, as Arthur C. Clarke once said that two possibilities exist. Either we are alone in the universe, or we are not. Both are equally terrifying. That's all for now. My videos like this one are regularly demonetized on YouTube, making it harder for me to make content for you. Help to keep creepy content on YouTube and consider giving even $1 to my Patreon, linked in the description below. It would be an incredible help to me and my team, so we can keep making content for you, and we can all fight to keep YouTube creepy. Thanks for listening. Thank you for watching. Be sure to check out another one of my videos, and of course press on screen now to subscribe to my channel, because you won't want to miss what's next, and I'll see you next time.